Hello and welcome to a reading and analysis of William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Today we are talking about Act 1, Scene 4. So this is one of the shortest scenes in the play, but it does have a pretty complicated monologue in it. And in fact, there's a few lines in this monologue that scholars still can't agree on what exactly they mean. So we'll do our best to try and figure it out and see what happens next in this play. So in 1-4, we are back to Hamlet, Horatio, and Marcellus. So we were just with Polonius and his children, and now we are back to the ghost hunters and the play, right? So they're outside here, and our first line tells us this. Hamlet says, "The air bites shrewdly, it is very cold. It is a nipping and an eager air. What hour now? I think it lacks of 12. No, it is struck. Indeed, I heard it not." So the characters are establishing our setting. Of course, in most modern theaters, you have the ability to quickly change lights and even scenery and that sort of stuff. In Shakespeare's time, outdoor at the Globe, they would not have that ability. They'd be performing during daylight hours, so you could actually see what's happening. And the characters' lines would tell the audience what sort of setting they were in, time of day, temperature, all that sort of stuff. It then draws near the season wherein the spirit held his wont to walk. So the time when the ghost usually appears. A flourish of trumpets and two pieces go off. That would be like gunfire, or the pieces or cannons. "What does this mean, my lord?" asks Horatio. "The king doth wake tonight and takes his rouse, keeps waysail, and the swaggering uprising reels. And as he drains his draughts of Rhenish down, the kettle drum and trumpet thus bray out the triumph of his pledge." So the king, it says the king wakes. That's disturbing if that's true. Maybe what it means is the king stays awake to drink. Basically, he's partying. It'd be it's probably problematic as is, but very problematic if he has like an alarm to wake up to go drink wine. But that's what it's saying, right? His triumph of his pledge is to drink all of this wine in a single gulp. So he's like frat boying it up as the king. So that's Claudius, right? "Is it a custom? Aye, marry, it is." So does this happen often, right? Or is it part of court culture? "But to my mind, though I am native here, and to the manner born, it is a custom more honored in the breach than the observance." So this is all talking about the drinking, the custom of drinking, and how much drinking is happening there. He says, "This heavy-headed revel, east and west, makes us traduced and taxed of other nations." So they're judged. Traduced there means to have your reputation kind of dragged through the mud. So other nations speak poorly of them for what they do, for how much they drink. "They clep us drunkards," clep meaning call us, "drunkards, and with swinish phrase soil our edition." So soil our edition means ruin our titles. So mock the titles of noble and prince and king, because they're not seen as nobles, princes, and kings abroad. They're seen as drunkards. I don't know if when this play was written, an English audience had the perception of Danish people as being heavy drinkers. I'm not sure where Shakespeare's going with this, but it's interesting that there's a lot of alcohol in this play. And here Hamlet is condemning it, right? He did say to Horatio, "We'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart," in 1-2. So maybe a little hypocritical. But anyway, "and indeed, it takes from our achievements, though performed at height, the pith and marrow of our attribute." So pith and marrow is the essence, and attribute is your reputation. So no matter what you do, you're seen for this vice of drunkenness. "So oft it chances in particular men that for some vicious mole of nature," which is a natural fault, something you're born with that is a fault against you, "that for some vicious mole of nature in them, as in their birth, wherein they are not guilty, since nature cannot choose his origin, by the overgrowth of some complexion." So overgrowth of some complexion is and the Folger's really helping me out here. It says, the increase of one of four humors, which were thought to control man's physical and emotional being. So that was what they thought made up the human body. And it led to some interesting medical practices, like you had too much bad blood in you or something. So they'd use leeches or bloodletting. So the idea is that the fault can throw off your balance here. And it could be a fault that you're born with. And as he says, you're not guilty of that. Since nature cannot choose its origin. Worth noting, nature, huge theme in this play as well. Not just like nature, like plants and animals, but talk of nature. What is natural? The natural order of things. Or by some habit that too much overleavens the form of plausive, that means pleasing, manners, that these men carrying, I say, the stamp of one defect, being nature's livery or fortune's star. So this defect either comes from birth or from luck. His virtues else, be they as pure as grace, as infinite as man may undergo, shall, in the general censure, take corruption from that particular fault. So basically, it overshadows all the good things about you. No matter what is good about you, this fault, you could see it as original sin. You could see it as genetic disposition. But the things you are born with, the things that happen to you, can overshadow the things that you are in control of. That was confusing as is. Here's the lines that people still aren't sure on. He says, from that particular fault, the dram of evil doth all the noble substance of a doubt to his own scandal. So the Folger says, these difficult lines have never been satisfactorily repaired, but the general sense may be that a small amount of evil makes even something admirable seem disreputable. There we go. And I agree with that interpretation. It seems like what they're saying is a small amount of something bad throws off the whole thing. That seems to be in line with the whole monologue. Now, Hamlet's long-winded. He could go on forever with his philosophical thoughts on human nature, but he is interrupted because the ghost enters. Horatio says, look, my lord, it comes. Angels and ministers of grace defend us. That's the thing Hamlet says the first time he sees the ghost. For those of you who are theatrical practitioners and work in the theater, you might have heard that this line is sometimes used as the reverse curse if someone says Macbeth in a theater. So in the theater, people usually say Mackers or the Scottish play, as opposed to saying Macbeth, unless you're performing Macbeth. And there's a whole long history to it. You can watch my Macbeth series if you're more interested in it. But I find it interesting with Hamlet here that sometimes people say angels and ministers of grace defend us after someone has said Macbeth in the theater. So I think most people just do it kind of for fun and tradition, but for those who are superstitious, they take it seriously. So, and you can see why they picked this line. It's Hamlet seen startled by a ghost, and he is not running to his dad and embracing him, right? We know he loved his father. We know he's very, very, very sad about his father's death, but he does not run to this ghost. Look what he says instead. He says, be thou a spirit of health or goblin damned. Bring with thee airs from heaven or blasts from hell. Be thy intents wicked or charitable. Thou comest in such questionable shape that I will speak to thee. I'll call thee Hamlet, king, father, royal Dane. Oh, answer me. So it shows the stakes here. Hamlet doesn't trust that this spirit is good right away. He's wondering if it's from heaven or if it's from hell. Is this a spirit here to bring good news, to set the natural order in the right way, or is it trying to trick them and lead them to destruction? He says he'll call it Hamlet, king, father, royal Dane, but all of those are in quotation marks, right? He's calling it because it looks like it. He doesn't necessarily believe that it is his father yet. Oh, answer me. Notice that the ghost does not answer yet. Let me not burst in ignorance, but tell why thy canonized bones, hearsed in death, have burst their cerements, why the sepulchre, wherein we saw thee quietly interred, hath oped his ponderous and marble jaws to cast thee up again. So all of that is talk of the churchyard, the graveyard, and how the last rites were done for Hamlet's the canonized bones. The last rites were done for Hamlet Sr. He was buried in the churchyard. His soul, his spirit should be at rest. And yet here it is wandering, dressed for battle in the middle of the night. What may this mean that thou, dead corse means corpse, right? Dead corse, again in complete steel, revisits thus the glimpses of the moon, making night hideous, and we fools of nature so horridly to shake our disposition with thoughts beyond the reaches of our souls. Say, why is this? Wherefore? What should we do? We fools of nature is a famous line from Hamlet. You'll hear me say that quite a bit because almost every line in this play is a famous line because it's the most famous play in the English-speaking world. What does it mean exactly? The Folger helps us out and says, causing us weak humans, so fools means weak here, to agitate our minds with thoughts that go beyond that even our souls can reach to. So they can't understand the afterlife because they are alive. They have not experienced it yet. So they're weak to that. They are fools in their ignorance to it. The ghost beckons, meaning like motions for Hamlet to follow him. It beckons you to go away with it, as if it some impartment did desire to you alone. Look with what courteous action it waves you to a more removed ground, but do not go with it. No, by no means. So both people, Marcellus and Horatio, urge Hamlet to not go with the ghost. Hamlet says, it will not speak, then I will follow it. So he does decide to follow it because he needs to talk to it. Do not, my lord. Why? What should be the fear? I do not set my life at a pin's fee. So pin's fee is the cost of a pin. And for my soul, what can it do to that? Being a thing immortal as itself, it waves me forth again. I'll follow it. So Hamlet doesn't see it as that risky of a move. At least he tells that to his friends, so they let him go. What if it tempt you toward the flood, my lord? Tempt you toward the flood, my lord, asks Horatio. So toward, I believe, destruction is what he means by the flood there. Or to the dreadful summit of, so yeah, destruction, yeah, dangerous place. Tempt you toward the flood, my lord, or the dreadful summit of a cliff that beetles o'er his base into the sea, and there assumes some other horrible form which might deprive your sovereignty of reason and draw you into madness. Think of it. So Horatio is saying it might take you somewhere dangerous and startle you so much that your reason, and that word comes up a lot, right? Your rational thought, your ability to think through things in a rational way, that your reason could be turned to madness. You could be somewhere dangerous, lose your mind, and something terrible could happen. The very place puts toys of desperation. So toys here means impulses. The very place puts toys of desperation without more motive into every brain that looks so many fathoms to the sea and hears it roar beneath. So this would be people familiar with the ocean, right? It's up north, it's cold. And there's beauty in the ocean, but there's also danger in the ocean as well. And Horatio says it can cause you to lose your mind, hearing its roar and looking at the vastness of it. It waves me still. Go on. I'll follow thee. So that's to the ghost. He says, I'll follow you. So he kind of ignores Horatio's warning. He says he will follow it. You shall not go, my lord. They hold back, Hamlet. Hold off your hands. Be ruled, you shall not go. My fate cries out and makes each petty archer in this body as hardy as the Nemean lion's nerve. Still am I called. Unhand me, gentlemen. By heaven, I'll make a ghost of him that lets me. I say away. Go on. I'll follow thee. So go on. I'll follow these to the ghost. The Nemean lion is the lion that Hercules has to kill. So very strong lion. And he says he's made, my fate cries out and makes each petty archer artery here. In this body is hardy, right? it's his destiny. It's his fate. He has to follow the ghost. He has to learn from it. Hamlet is someone who always needs to know more. He's a very speculative, inquisitive, and curious character. So he has to know more. And he even threatens them. He says he will make a ghost of anyone who doesn't let him go see the ghost, which is, it's a threat on their life. Maybe not a serious one, but it's serious language, at least. He tells the ghost, "Go on, I'll follow thee." Ghost and Hamlet exit. Horatio and Marcellus just to each other now. He waxes desperate with imagination. "Let's follow. 'Tis not fit thus to obey him. Have after. To what issue will this come? Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Heaven will direct it. Nay, let's follow him." And "something is rotten in the state of Denmark" is one of the most famous lines in this play. A lot of famous lines, as I said, that's one of the most famous. It's parodied and spoofed all the time in pop culture. And it's very connected, right? There's a musical, Something Rotten, that's Shakespeare, Hamlet based. So what it means, though, is something's wrong. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark, means something is wrong. And the ghost proves that. And it's worth pointing out that as friends, Horatio and Marcellus follow Hamlet at a risk to angering him when he seems very desperate, when he seems to not be thinking straight. And I also want you to remember that warning that Horatio gives him of being driven mad by this spirit, being driven insane by it. That will come back around in a very interesting way in a couple of scenes. So that was 1-4. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we only have one more scene left in this act. Yes, scene 5, which is a big one. So after Act 1, I'll be taking a small break, but there will be a different, not Shakespeare-related video coming out. I'll be going on vacation, which I'm very excited about. So taking a break from the live streams for a little bit, but look for a different video. I'm very proud of this one, put a lot of editing into it. So excited to see how that one does and how it's received. So I'll maybe tomorrow say what that video is about as I get closer to releasing it. And for today, as always, thank you to Field Notes for sponsoring. I have here 2 of my favorite national parks that I've been to, Zion and Smoky Mountain National Parks. If you are interested in National Park Field Notes or any Field Notes, these are the parks featured in the series. You can use the link and code in the description to get 10% off your order. And if you get the National Park Field Notes, 5% of your order goes to support the national parks. You definitely need it. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave any questions or comments down below, and I'll see you in 1-5. Happy reading.